Greetings, ghouls, and welcome back to the crypt. I am thrilled to have you join me once more in this realm of terror and intrigue. I just want to extend my deepest gratitude to each of you dark souls who dared to venture into our crypt for our very first Q&A session. Your presence summoned forth a day of spine-chilling questions. I summoned all of the undead to ask me a question they have been dying to know, and they all responded. These questions came from Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. So if you want to follow me on any of them, ReAnimateHer is my name on there. A huge thank you to each and every one of you again for participating. But before we dive into this juicy piece of knowledge, I wanted to remind you guys of my merch store, theghoulshop.com, where you can get your creature claws on the spookiest merch and gear. Also, you can become a ghoul over at the Ghouls Shop on my membership page if you'd like. A really huge shout out to each and every one of you who support me across numerous platforms, whether you're a YouTube member, a ghoul, Patreon, a Twitch sponsor. Your support means the world to me, and I could not do this without you guys. Now, let's dive into our first question. This question comes from StealthShadovv. Have you ever listened to a band called The Vision Bleak? No, I have not. I don't think I ever even heard of The Vision Bleak before. However, I am going to look at it today. So thank you very much for your question. Now, let's move on to our next question, and that is from Reginene or Regina. I'm not really sure how to pronounce your name. I do apologize if I just butchered the shit out of it. But your question is, well, who are some of your favorite musicians or bands? Well, that is super easy. In this moment, I love a lot of different types of music, but for your question, I'm going to tell you in this moment, Five Finger Death Punch, Metallica, NWA, Ice Cube. Yeah, those are some of my top favorite bands, Etta James. But thank you so much for your question. All right, so our next question comes from Petal and Thorns. What are some of your favorite horror books? Ooh, I love horror books, and I love the novel American Psycho. It's one of my most favorites. However, I'm going to show you a few of my books that I really do love to read. One of them is The Glamour Ghoul. This is one of my favorites. It is The Glamour Ghoul, The Passions and Pains of a Real Vampira. And she's an amazing horror host. She was one of the first female horror hosts, goth and more, scream queen, to come to the scene. This is one of my favorite books. I've read it twice so far. One that I'm currently reading is Gothic Dreams Cult Horror. This one here, Regal Oncer 13, sent me a while back, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm going through it and learning some good information. But those are the kind of books that I do like to read. I do like true crime as well. So I do have quite a few true crime books that I like to read. Thank you again, Petals and Thorns. And for anybody else, if you're listening to one of these questions and you have your favorites, please feel free in the comments. Tell me your favorite music, genre, horror books, etc. I would love to know more about you. Definitely answer some of these questions if you want in the comments, whether you're watching this on Instagram, you're watching this on YouTube, or on Facebook. Definitely let me know what you're thinking. Okay, so our next inquiry comes from Blood and Brews. What horror movie franchise could you care less about? I'm gonna have to say Paranormal Activity. I really don't care for that chapter, that franchise. I really did like Next of Kin, but to be honest with you, the rest of the chapters are kind of crap to me, and yeah, they didn't do anything for me. Thank you for your question. This question comes from Batboy2189. What made you become a horror historian / content creator? Inspirations, game-changing life events, and such. That's a great question. Very great question there, Batboy. Well, as a content creator, I started out, I was inspired by a friend who's no longer with us by the name of Cranky Canuck. Before that happened, I was watching channels over on Twitch, and I needed something as a hobby. And while I was watching this one chick, and I was like, oh, I think I can do that. So I tried my hand at it. No, I wasn't doing this to make money right off the bat. I worked full time, and it was just something to fill some time in. I loved video games. And then it just grew from there. I met a man named Cranky Canuck, who was a great content creator, and he helped me become who I am today. He asked me a very important question, which was, who are you as a creator? And, I had to sit and think about that one because that's a really hard question. And I thought about it, and I'm like, I love horror. In my spare time, in my hobbies, before I ever became a content creator, I was always reading about horror, how movies are made, how filming is done, behind the scenes. I've always loved doing things like that, and I still do. It's a part of my hobby. It's something that I do not even just for content creation. And I decided to bring that passion for horror to my content. And that I love doing. I love deep diving, reading books, using the interwebs to find out more about movies, talking to other people to get more knowledge. That was a really great question, and thank you very much for that, Bat Boy. I appreciate it. All right, now, thank you, CNoteDogg 459, for asking this question. What if you were a monster? Who would you want to scare? Ooh. That is a good question. Now, if I was a monster, if I could choose any monster, I would love to be a werewolf. And who would I scare? Oh, for fun? I don't have any ill will towards people. So for fun, I would love to scare my spawns. I would also love to scare serial killer. He's my brother from another mother. He scares, and I think he would be fun to scare the shit out of. So who else would I love? My neighbor. Yeah, my neighbor would love to. Thank you very much for your question, C-Note. Now, on to our next question from the Silentknight. Are you truly happy? I will have to say yes, Silentknight. I am really truly happy. I have a wonderful life. I'm surrounded by amazing people online and offline. I'm married to the best person in the world, and that is Heavy. He treats me like a queen. I have beautiful babies, my daughters, and I have beautiful grandbabies. I always like to tell people that I am the richest person in the world because I don't have a lot of money. However, I have a lot of love. I have a lot of respect, and I have a lot of laughter in my life between my family, my husband, my cousins, my mother, and friends in my life. I'm very rich in that because I have people who care for me and about me, and I do the same for them. So am I truly happy? You bet your sweet ass I'm truly happy. Thank you for your question. Thank you, Uncle Ed's Autographs and Stuff, for asking, what's the horror scene like where you are in Canada, i.e. conventions, etc.? Well, the horror scene where I am in my little place is not that huge. There's a small group of us that try to get together once a month to talk about horror. It usually doesn't happen. However, in Alberta as a whole, there is a con that is my favorite con to go to, and that is the Calgary Horror Con. It happens every summer in June, usually Father's Day weekend, and it's happening this summer as well, June 15th to the 17th. And I say that because on Friday, I'm usually there volunteering and helping out. And Friday night starts the VIP party. And then Saturday and Sunday are days of vendors and celebrities. It is such a great time. And if you've never been to a con before, I'm going to highly, highly recommend you going, whether it's a horror con or just a regular convention. We do have numerous other conventions here. We do have an anime con, cosplay, Calgary Expo, Edmonton Expo, GameCon Canada. I've been to quite a few of them. They are a lot of fun. They can be exhausting. However, I do love my Calgary Horror Con. I go every year without fail. And we do have other things like haunt houses and scare fests, especially in the fall when it comes closer to Halloween. Thank you for your question. All right. Our next kick-ass question comes from Blood and Brews. If you could make your own horror movie, what would it be about? Ooh. That is a good question. I love slashers. I love shocking and disturbing. So I would probably have to add a slasher that is very shocking and disturbing. I love real life scares. I would never do a movie about SA, if you guys know what that means. I would not do one about that because that is just, it just hits too real to home, you know what I mean? However, I would probably make a slasher-esque disturbing film, something that's very gory and grotesque. Think of Terrifier scenes, you know, in Terrifier 1, where he splits her in half, and then in Terrifier 2 in the bedroom. I would do that, and it would be slasher-esque. Maybe have a splash of some like paranormal craziness. I don't know, but slasher-esque. I know that didn't answer your question in fully, but I am doing these on the fly. They haven't been pre-recorded or thought of beforehand. I don't think you get a real reaction or real answers to these questions. So I would have to say slasher and disturbing, more blood and guts, definitely nudity. I am all for full nudity on both male and female. So if I was to ever create a film like that and there was nudity involved, you bet your sweet ass you're going to see some ass and dong. I mean, come on now, equal opportunity nudist over here, equal opportunity. Thank you for your question, Blood and Brews. Okay, Puppy Bish, thank you so much for asking. What is your favorite funny moment from any video? Well, are you asking about my videos or somebody else's videos? However, in my videos, I'm going to have to say one of my favorite funniest moments is the Cockacorn. Yeah, and for those of you that haven't seen the Cockacorn, I'm going to show it to you right now. What are you doing? You're an asshole. I am not having a dick on my forehead.
It's a raw Cockacorn. It's a Cockacorn.
This is my favorite moment from one of my streams. Well, one of my favorite moments for one of my live streams. Heavy, as you can tell in this video, created a metal cock. And yes, I have them still. He paints them. He makes them. So if anyone wants one. But anyway, we were doing a charity event for whatever was going on. I think we were doing for Stack Up organization. And yeah, Heavy comes on down and makes me a Cockacorn. I do hope you like that video, but that is one of my favorites, Puppy Bish. And if that's what you didn't mean, please let me know in the comments. All right, Deb. Oh my God, Deb Climber. Do you have a favorite music genre? That is a really great question, Deb. I have several genres that I really enjoy. I love old school rap. There's just something about old school rap that you do not find or hear nowadays. And when I mean old school, I mean 80s. Run DMC, Beastie Boys. I love NWA, Ice Cube, Ice-T, Belle Biv DeVoe. I love hip hop. I definitely love death metal, heavy metal. I do like some jazz and blues music as well. So I love a lot of different types of genres and music. However, when I'm cleaning my house, I usually like to rock out in some like 80s, 90s hits because they're just so much fun. It reminds me of the era that I grew up in, and it's just a blast and some really great songs. Okay, so our next question comes from Blood and Brews. What is your favorite movie theater snack? Okay, so my favorite movie theater snack will be M&Ms and popcorn mixed together. And it's peanut M&Ms because peanut M&Ms are my favorite. And so I love mixing peanut butter and chocolate and my popcorn together to have that delicious, sweet and salty peanut buttery thing going on. What's your favorite movie theater snack or home movie theater snack? You know what? We don't always have to go to the movies to make our favorite theater snacks, but what is yours at home? I would definitely love to know. 8-Bit Salah with an awesome question. It's been almost 4 years since new Xbox release. So what is your favorite horror game in this gen? So my favorite horror game in this generation, so on my new Xbox, I would have to say Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I say that because that's the only really new horror game that came out for the new generation consoles. It's a lot of fun. There's quite a bit that can be worked on that game to make it even better. However, it is one of my favorite games for new gen. However, one of my most favorite horror games of all time is going to be Friday the 13th by Gun Interactive. It is my most favorite game, and you already know that, so thank you so much for your question. Now, Tyler Saban, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Thank you for this question. What is your favorite Friday the 13th chapter? Lord have mercy. You know I love Friday the 13th. It is my favorite franchise. It's my numero uno. Oh, and I have numerous favorites. So if I have to pick one, I'm going to have to say part 3 is by far my most favorite of the chapters. You know what? Actually, it's a battle between that one and Friday the 13th, Jason Lives. So, balls. Okay, so Friday the 13th, chapter 3, I really love. It's where we see Jason Voorhees in his mask for the very first time. We get to meet so many other great characters in this, like Shelley Finkelstein. So part 3. And then Jason Lives. I really loved Jason Lives. I love Maggot Jason. I love the way they made him look. He looks gnarly and gross and slimy and moist. It's just like, and he looks awesome. Plus, we get to see an older Tommy Jarvis, which I think is super cool. I'm going to go on a little bit more about this one. However, I will have to say Jason X is another one of my most favorites. I love Jason in Outer Space. Uber Jason's mask kicks friggin' ass. And yes, I would love to see Earth 2 written by Todd Farmer. I really do. I think we need an Earth 2 Friday the 13th. We need it. We need it to happen. But those are my most favorite. And number 1, obviously, part 1 of Friday the 13th, because Pamela friggin' Voorhees. She started it all, man. You gotta give her some fucking props because she started it all. I hope that answered your question, Tyler. And you at home, are you a fan of Friday the 13th? If so, what is your favorite chapter? Oh my Lord, Canadian Simmer. Great question. What is your favorite part of going to a horror con? Well, my most favorite part of going to a horror con is hanging out with other like-minded horror fans. You know, growing up in the 80s and 90s, I was a loner. Not everybody was into horror. Not everybody was into reading about it like Fangoria magazine. Half of the people I went to school with didn't even know what Fangoria magazine was. So it was kind of a lonely little shell. And having horror cons and being able to meet like-minded individuals that chat horror, that are just as passionate, if not more than I am, is pretty friggin' amazing. I also get to see celebrities that I really want to meet and know, and I think that's really cool. I do love, my most favorite part about volunteering at the Calgary Horror Con is being a panel moderator. If you don't know what that is, a panel moderator is somebody who asks questions to the celebrity in a panel. And at the Calgary Horror Con, it's very intimate. It's nice. It's a small panel. And I get to sit next to the celebrity to ask them questions. And it's a really great part of the con for myself. Panels in general are really great to begin with. And I would suggest people going to panels because you get to learn a lot more than what you would find on the internet. Now, look at Blood and Brews with all these kick-ass questions, my friend. What is your top 3 horror movies of all time? Top 3 horror movies of all time. Let's see. Obviously, Friday the 13th. I love it. Can watch it over and over and over again. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I love My Cannibals. I love Bubba. And American Werewolf in London. I love werewolves. It's such a great movie. For me, it's one of my favorite movies. I have so many, but those are my top 3 of all time. Thank you all truly so very much for asking these questions to know more about me. If you have any other questions, please feel free to put them below in the comments. I will make another video. We will do another Q&A sometime in the future. I had a lot of fun putting this one together, and really a huge thank you to each of you who participated in this and seen my posts and asked about me. I appreciate that, and I think it's a good time. Again, if you want to support this channel, you want to support this content, you can do it for free by liking, subscribing, and sharing this video on all of your platforms. Watching this video to the end and commenting really helps to push my content further to the undead masses, and I'm really thankful that you guys do all of that for me. If you want to check me out live on Twitch, I am live Monday, Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, Fridays at 1 p.m. Mountain Time, and every Sunday for Coffee Chat of Horrors. If you're watching this Sunday coming is Near Dark Deep Dive into I love vampires. So we're deep diving into Near Dark. Make sure to check us out at 11 a.m. Mountain Time over on Twitch and here on YouTube. Again, my goals, thank you so very much for everything you do. I appreciate you. I hope you have an amazing weekend, and I will slash you all later. Bye.